All right, guys, what's going on? My name is Patrick, and today we are going to be starting season 2 of live Japanese cooking. If we haven't met before, I'm the creator of All Day I Eat Like a Shark, the YouTube channel focused on Japanese cuisine, indoor gardening, and points travel. Today, what we're going to be doing is making black cod marinated in miso, also known as Gindara misozuke, or misoyaki in Japanese. Let's go in. So there's that. Let's go back to the main camera. Like the little intro there. So I have a title here to show you as well. So today, like I said, what we're making is the Gindara Misoyaki. And obviously, if this is your first time here, this is the channel that you're at, All Day I Eat Like a Shark. And we are doing live cooking season number 2. Summer 2018. With that, let's go ahead and get started. So I have a bunch of stuff here. I'm a little bit behind schedule. I was going to make some spinach as a side dish. I was going to do some maza gohan with asparagus, which I have here. And I have some eggplant, which I have roasted. I think it should be about done by now. Yeah. Needs to be taken out. I was going to do a miso dengaku sauce, the same sauce that I used in my previous recipe from last season. So I will link that in the description below. So this is how my Japanese eggplant looks. It's nice and hot. I just brushed it with some olive oil and I cut it in half. And then I roasted it for about 30 minutes. So for dinner today, I'm going to eat that along with some rice, the black cod fillets. So this is what we're going to be using. I have 2 pretty good sized fillets here. They are about 1 1/3 pound each. So this is what I get at the market. Let me know where you're located and if you have made misoyaki fish before. It's pretty straightforward. And let me see if I can get some space. So for the asparagus maza gohan, we are gonna just saute the asparagus with some salt and pepper. And for the fish, we're gonna go ahead and salt it and let it sit for about 30 minutes. Meanwhile, we can prepare all this other stuff I have ready to go. If you've never filleted a fish, we'll go ahead and do it together right now. It's not too bad. This comes with the head chopped off, so you can't tell how fresh it is, but you can always smell it. It smells okay. It's usually somewhat fishy. So I'm going to give it a little bit of a rinse. We're going to cut out the bones from the fillet, and then we're going to cut it up into about 1.5 inch pieces. So the recipe, if you want to follow along, is on my site. And this is one of the easiest and most delicious fish recipes you could potentially make with so little ingredients. So I hope you get a chance to try this. You can see that it's been cleaned slightly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut along the spine and separate as much bone as I can from the flesh. So if you want to get a different angle, let me change the camera there. Sorry, the picture is in the way. So here's a different angle for you. I'm just going to cut along the spine. So there's one side, and then we'll do the same for the other side, cut along the spine. So again, try to keep the blade of the knife as level as possible, parallel to the ground, and just cut and pull. You want to make sure you use a very sharp knife. So the reason that you salt black cod, or any fish really, is I guess there's several reasons. So one is to get out any of the fishy flavor, the fishy odor that isn't so pleasant. The other is to draw out excess moisture. So that helps the marinade, or whatever it is that you're going to season it with, to penetrate the flesh better. And Yeah, I think those are the only two reasons. Anyways, let me just clean this up a little bit. There's some residual guts. Okay, so now we have 2 fillets of black cod ready to be salted. You can use this for the scraps for soup or whatever else you want to use it for. So I'm going to go ahead and pat this dry, and I'm going to set it, I'll cut it into about 1.5 inch thick pieces, and then we're going to go ahead and put this aside while we create the miso marinade. So the marinade is going to make about maybe 1.5 cups worth. So that should be sufficient for 2 pieces of fish. You can see these are pretty good sized fish here. So this should be 1, 2, 3, enough for 6 people. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut it now. I'm going to cut it at an angle. You can cut them however you want, but I think the angle makes it look a little bit nicer. So 6 pieces of fish ready to go. We're going to go ahead and put salt on both sides. And you want to marinate, or not marinate, you want to leave it salted for about 30 minutes to an hour. And just, lightly sprinkle and then rub it on. Doesn't have to be too much. You're going to wipe the excess salt off with a paper towel before we add on the marinade. So don't be worried, it's not going to be too salty. So there's one side. Let's do the other side also. So once we create the marinade and we add the fish to it, we're going to let it sit at least 12 hours overnight, or ideally at least 1 day, 2 days max. And if you leave it longer in the marinade, it's going to get salty. So you have to take it out no later than 2 days. Got that? Don't forget. Okay, so this is done. I'm going to go ahead and set this aside. And we're going to go ahead and make the marinade now. So the marinade is very straightforward. All you need is white miso. We're going to use about 200 mils worth, which is a little bit less than an American cup. And 50 mils of sugar, white sugar, 2 tablespoons of sake, and 2 tablespoons of mirin. And that's going to be our marinade. So the first time I made this was a long time ago, maybe when I was in college. And the recipe that I used actually called for cooking all of this together so that the sugar dissolves. It's not really necessary. I couldn't really tell a flavor difference between a recipe that used the cooked marinade versus one that didn't. So I just mix it all together. Tastes just as good. So there's 2 tablespoons of sake. Here's 2 tablespoons of mirin. And we're going to use about 50 mils of sugar. So 50 mils is roughly 1/4 cup, if you're wondering. And you can adjust the sugar to your liking. If you like things on the sweeter side, by all means, add a little bit more sugar. Otherwise, try out the recipe the way it's written and see how you like it. So there's that. And then we're going to put in 200 mils of, this is white miso, even though it's in a jar. I just changed the packaging. It came in a plastic pack. And I just put it into a jar for better preservation. So it's roughly at the 1/2 cup marker with the sake and sugar. So I'm just going to put it up to just under the 1 cup marker. This is an American cup. And I wouldn't recommend substituting any other type of miso. There's different types of miso, like there's red or brown miso as it's called. There's also akadashi. There's a saikyo miso, which is a little bit sweeter than white miso. So you may need to cut back on the sugar if you use that one, but try to use white miso if you can. That's the one that I'm using right now. Even though it's called white, it's actually light tan. So there's our marinade ready to go. You can use this for meat and other types of fish as well. If you can't find black cod, you can use it with salmon, is one of my favorites. And any other type of white, neutral tasting fish will work. So just try to make the sugar dissolve in the sake and the mirin as much as possible. Let me show you how this looks. Different camera angle. So it's not too thick. And you want to make sure all those giant clumps of miso have been dissolved. So this is ready to go. I'm going to make my Miso Dengaku sauce now, which is for the eggplant. We're going to let the fish sit for about 20 more minutes. And once that's done, we're going to go ahead and put it in a Ziploc bag. So we'll just use one of these and marinate it for at least 1 day. So that will be essentially how you make your Gindara Misoyaki fish. All right, so my rice is going to be done in 7 minutes. I'm going to show you quickly how that gets put together as well. So we're going to go ahead and cook the asparagus. This is about 5 or 6 stems of asparagus. We're just going to saute it with salt and pepper and olive oil really quick. Once we do that, we're going to add it to the rice pot. Maze gohan just means mixed rice in Japanese. I'm going to throw on some salt. There's the asparagus. And then fresh cracked pepper. This tastes so good. I was really surprised the first time I tried this. And now that it's asparagus season, it's an even better excuse to eat more of it. So I just put in about a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and then about maybe 2 teaspoons worth of olive oil. So we're just going to saute it, get it nice and brown. Once it's slightly brown, we're going to add it to the pot or the rice cooker, and then we're just going to mix it up. So it's pretty quick and pretty tasty. So next thing that we're going to do is the miso dengaku. I wanted to do miso dengaku this time, the same recipe that I did last time, but with akadashi. So let's see. Let's go ahead and put it in this container. So this will be for the marinade. So we need sake, mirin, and sugar. I'm going to do about a teaspoon. I think it was a teaspoon. Teaspoon of sugar, teaspoon of mirin, and then a teaspoon of sake. And then we're going to do about 4 tablespoons of akadashi, which is right here. So this is a very strong tasting miso. It has dashi in it. I think we're actually going to use all of it. All right, so there's 1 tablespoon, 2 tablespoons, and 3 tablespoons. Okay, so there's that. So the miso dengaku sauce is right here. We're going to add in about a teaspoon of water to just thin it out a little bit. All right, so the asparagus is done. Like I said, it's pretty quick. You just saute it for about a minute. And then here's the miso dengaku sauce. This is very savory, only slightly sweet. And we're just going to paste it on the eggplant, and that'll be ready to eat. So I'm hungry. Let's go ahead and put some on here. So I will put some pictures of this up on my site later on. Oops. But here is some nasu dengaku, or eggplant with sweet miso. It's pretty tasty. So one of the easier side dishes you can make. Asparagus is done, the rice is just about ready. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my shamoji and then we will go ahead and mix it in. I don't know about you, but sometimes I just don't wait for the rice to cook all the way. I usually just turn it off when there's 1 to 2 minutes left because usually it's just about done. Always make sure you gently fold the rice to make sure that the moisture is evenly distributed. I'm just going to drop all of the asparagus in here. You're going to throw in some fresh cracked pepper. Oh man, this smells so good. Pepper with a little bit of salt and asparagus. It's a great way to season your rice, that's for sure. Okay, so what I was going to do, since we weren't going to be eating the Gindara, the black cod today, I was actually going to cook some sanma, which is pike. It's a long fish. It's got a very strong flavor. And I was just going to do a salt grilled or salt broiled with a little bit of salt and daikon oroshi or grated daikon and some yuzu. So I got this yuzu on my most recent Japan trip. This is from Kochi, which is on the island of Shikoku, which is one of the smaller islands on the south part of the country. And they're famous for citrus. So that's why I got that. It's 100% yuzu juice. I know it's not the same as the real thing, but at least it's 100% juice and it's better than anything I can find at the local market here. So I got some. So this is the way the fish looks. You can have this fish served in very different forms. Sometimes you can season it with soy sauce or mirin. I like it best with just salt. It's pretty tasty in my opinion. So we're going to go ahead and broil it for about maybe 1.5 minutes on one side and then 1.5 minutes on the other side. Because it is a pretty small fish, it does cook quickly. So let's go ahead and throw this in there. Okay. So as far as cooking the misoyaki, once the marinade once the fish is marinated for about a day, we're going to throw it in the broiler, skin side up. You can see that there's a lot of skin here. Once that starts to puff up, we're going to flip it over, turn down the heat to about 450, and then let it cook for about maybe 3 to 4 minutes, depending on how hot your oven is, how much fish you're cooking, etc. You want to watch it closely because it can burn very easily due to all the sugar that's in there and the miso. So as soon as you see that golden color appear and some of the miso starting to turn black, that's when it's time to take it out. So usually it's you'll have your fish ready in about 5 to 10 minutes. So we'll just give this a little bit more time, about 10 minutes worth of salting time. I'm going to go wipe off all that salt. I'm going to throw it into the Ziploc bag here with the miso and let it marinate for about a day. And that is essentially how you make misoyaki fish. So hope you guys get a chance to try it. It's pretty straightforward and it tastes really good. And I think that's about it for today. So if you like this video, if you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment area below. I have the recipe linked in the description as well as in the card. If you would like to get alerts, or if you haven't subscribed yet, you'd like to see my future live cooking episodes, obviously they are a continuous work in process here, or yeah, work in progress, not process. I'm probably going to adjust my live setup a little bit. Don't think my live stream worked the way that I thought it would. So that will be better next time. Anyways, wanted to say thank you for watching. I hope you got something out of this. And for now, I'm going to go ahead and throw up my end screen for the last 15 seconds, and I will see you in my next video. So see you next week.